I'm Sian Hutchings and I'm an art and design lecturer, and today we're going to be doing bundle dyeing. Okay, so it's a fabric dyeing technique, but today we're going to be using natural materials. Okay, so these are materials you can source from your garden. If you're going on a walk, you can source the materials in your kitchen cupboards. So really accessible way to start fabric dyeing. So tools you'll need and materials you'll need for this is just a plain white t-shirt, or you could use socks or tea towels or bits of old cloth you've got lying around. You'll need some white vinegar, which most people have in their bathroom or kitchen cupboards. It's just, you know, really great for cleaning, but also good for fabric dyeing. Your natural dyes. So here I've got some flowers. So again, the more pigmented the colour, the better. So flowers from your garden, you know, it's the end of summer now, so you probably need to get rid of them anyway. You can use stuff like turmeric. So if you've got turmeric or curry spices in your kitchen cupboard, those are great too. I've got some lavender, so it gets rid of the smell of the white vinegar. And I've also got stinging nettles. They're a really great dye. Obviously, if you're using stinging nettles, wear gloves. I've got blackberries, and I've also got onion skins. And you can use any type of onion skins, red onions, brown onions, and you can also use avocado as well. So everything should be available already. You shouldn't even have to need to buy anything. I've also got a pot on a low heat, about 60 degrees, so you just want the water at boiling temperature, a stick or something that I can tie my t-shirt around, and a spoon. Okay, so step one, if you've got all your materials, we just want to coat the t-shirt in the white vinegar. Okay, so this is the stinky bit, so you might want to hold your nose. And I'm just soaking the fabric in the white vinegar. And the reason we do this is it helps the dye, it helps coax the dye out of the material we're using. And usually if you're doing, you know, if you're a fashion designer, and you were doing fabric dyeing professionally, then it's usually a 3-step process, and we usually scour the fabric first. That just means washing the fabric, so you want to start with a clean t-shirt preferably, and then we would mordant the fabric, and mordanting is using something like aluminium sulfate or iron or white vinegar, and this is the stuff that will help the dye and the colours last longer. And the reason why we spray the white vinegar first is we don't want to make our lovely design and then spraying it goes woof and falls off. So I think that's enough. Second step is really creating the pattern. I like to just throw everything on the plate. Obviously, if you're using stuff like nettles, please wear a glove. So I'm just going to lay my dye material onto my fabric. Stuff like blackberries, obviously you can see the dye and the colour coming out straight away. Okay, so I think I've got enough blackberries and nettles on there. And now I'm going to go in with some marigolds. Take my glove off so I've got a bit more. And if you're using like flowers, they can be dried or fresh. It doesn't really matter. But if you're using dried flowers, I like to crunch them up first. So if you've got a pestle and mortar at home, you can ground them up in that and just sprinkle it over the t-shirt. And actually, for natural dyes, you don't have to do, this is bundle dyeing, but if you want to dye a t-shirt just one colour, for example, you would do a very similar process. You have your t-shirt, but you would have lots of nettles or lots of blackberries, and you just boil them. And usually if you're soaking it in one colour, it's best to leave it overnight. So boil the product or the material for about an hour, and then let it sit overnight. Strain the dye material, okay, so get rid of the nettles and just keep the liquid, and then you would boil your t-shirt or whatever you're using in that dye for about an hour. So once you've got your design in place, the next thing to do is we want to roll it up, and it doesn't matter which way you want to roll it, but we want to roll it maybe on a stick or something, or if you've got an old broom handle, anything you've got lying around, preferably not plastic, because we're going to be steaming it. And you just want to wrap it as tightly as you can around the fabric. And again, this is messy fingers. Blackberries are a really good one at this time of year, because you can find them anywhere, and they've got a really strong dye, and you can eat them as well. Preferably not after you've dyed it. Okay, so once I've got it wrapped up on my stick, I'm now going to use some string, yarn, thread, anything you've got lying around, and I'm going to wind it as tightly as I can around the pole. Obviously, when we're using natural dyes, the colour will fade over time, which is why we use the white vinegar. But the key here is that we're not harming the environment. Okay. And before I steam this, I'm going to give it another spray with the white vinegar just to make sure it's completely soaked. But as you can see, there's already colour starting to come through. If you're doing this with children, this might be the bit that you take control of, and don't let them near, because there'll be a lot of steam and it will be really hot. If you've got something like a colander, obviously you can put it in there and you can cover it to get more steam onto it. But essentially, now you've got the steam going onto the t-shirt and onto the fabric, you want to keep that steaming for about 50 minutes, okay, up to an hour. If you want a more saturated colour, it's even best to leave it overnight. So what you would do is cook it for an hour, take it off the heat, and before you unravel it and wash it, leave it overnight. Okay, so it's been about 40 minutes now, so I'm going to unravel it. Of course, like I said before, if you want to turn it off the heat now and then leave it to soak overnight, you would get the best effects, okay? You would get a more saturated colour. But for the purposes of the video, I'm just going to unravel it now. So obviously, if you're leaving it overnight, it will be fine. But if you're impatient like I am, it's going to be hot. So just be aware that the fabric will be hot. And the great thing about natural dyes is you can find materials all year round. So obviously September, autumn is the best time for blackberries, but spring is better for nettles and dockswood. But also pine cones create a good dye, and then obviously foodstuffs, you can get them all year round. So you could literally make a spring, summer, autumn, winter collection. Ta-da! So now what you want to do is, obviously it's really messy, so you just want to rinse it in cold water and remove any of the excess material. Don't eat the blackberries because they probably won't taste nice now they've been soaked in white vinegar. Obviously with natural dyes, the colour isn't going to last as long as synthetic dyes. So to make it last longer, I'd put it on a delicate wash at about 30 degrees, like you would do your wools or your woolen jumpers. And there you have it. There's your naturally dyed t-shirt.